Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the show tonight, the emergence of horrific video of rape survivors in Manipur being paraded naked has brought the focus back sharply on a state which is now sadly descending into a spiral from which there is no visible long-term solution. The opposition says the Chief Minister must go. The BJP says the opposition has double standards. The Prime Minister today made his first remarks on the situation. But as the political battle continues, the fact of the matter is that the deep animosity between two communities in Manipur shows absolutely no signs of going away, which is why our goal on this program is to try and look for solutions, political and security. India cannot have a part of our nation continue to suffer in the way that Manipur is suffering at the moment. Finally now, 2 arrests have been made of people identified in the video, men who brutally assaulted and raped the women in Manipur. This is what the Prime Minister and the Manipur Chief Minister said a little while back.
पीड़ा से भरा हुआ है, क्रोध से भरा हुआ है। मणिपुर की जो घटना सामने आई है, किसी भी सभ्य समाज के लिए ये शर्मसार करने वाली घटना है। पाप करने वाले, गुनाह करने वाले कितने हैं, कौन है, वो अपनी जगह पे है, लेकिन बेइज्जती पूरे देश की हो रही है। 140 करोड़ देशवासियों को शर्मसार होना पड़ रहा है। मैं सभी मुख्यमंत्रियों से आग्रह करता हूं कि वे अपने राज्य में कानून व्यवस्था को और मजबूत करें, खास करके हमारी माताओं बहनों की रक्षा के लिए कठोर से कठोर कदम उठाएं। घटना चाहे राजस्थान की हो, घटना चाहे छत्तीसगढ़ की हो, घटना चाहे मणिपुर की हो, इस देश में, हिंदुस्तान के किसी भी कोने में, किसी भी की राज्य सरकार में राजनीतिक वाद विवाद से ऊपर उठ करके कानून व्यवस्था का महात्मा, नारी का सम्मान, और मैं देशवासियों को विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं, किसी भी गुनहगार को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। कानून अपनी पूरी शक्ति से, पूरी सख्ती से एक के बाद एक कदम उठाएगा। मणिपुर की इन बेटियों के साथ जो हुआ है, इसको कभी माफ नहीं किया जा सकता है।
And in a further update to the police action in Manipur, there have now been 4 arrests which have taken place in connection with the horrific gang rape and the video which has emerged of that brutal assault on those women in the state. Here's what the Manipur Chief Minister said some time back.
After seeing the viral video, all the legislature of the ruling BJP and the groups took a decision to condemn the heinous crime, and also we term it was a crime against humanity, and the state government will give possible all effort to get punish the culprit, the element at the highest punishment up to the capital punishment. We will make all effort to get to them. And I, on behalf of the legislature party and the people of the state, want to appeal to the people of the state that we should make this event as the last against the women, sisters and elders. We should respect the women, we should respect our sisters, our mothers, we should respect our elders.
Well, joining us now, the senior BJP leader, Nalin Kohli. Nalin, thank you very much for being with us. Why did it take a video to go viral for an arrest to be made in this particular case?
Well, in the first place, Vishnu, and I'll be perhaps leaning on my legal mind as a practicing lawyer, the video would have helped identify the perpetrator of the crime. It is equally unfortunate that the video brings into focus the victim. As you would understand, in law, we are prevented, and rightfully, not to take the name of someone who is a victim of sexual harassment or sexual assault or rape. And that protection is there. And certainly when it goes to the next level, which is posting a video, that is a double crime because you're making public somebody's entire ordeal and taking it to a very wide platform. And that is punishable under law, under both the IT Act and the IPC. But in this case, when the question comes that it took so many days for an arrest to be made, the video, even while it is unfair to the victim, has helped identify the perpetrator. But that is something that I would say that shouldn't have happened in the first place, because the video has also hurt and added to the pain of the person who's the victim.
An FIR was lodged, and even without a video, shouldn't an arrest have been made earlier on?
It's a fair question, Vishnu. But my guess is that it is possible that at that time the FIR may not have named specifically a person. And it may have been against a mob. Yeah. And since Manipur is facing a situation, and repeatedly the priority is to ensure that peace comes on and investigations are there, and the police force may have been stretched, so they may have been looking for clues. But when the video came and immediately there was an identified person, they immediately stepped in and have taken action. So I don't think it is about a deliberate act or an act of not wanting to take action. I think the police took it when they got the first opportunity. Had they had an earlier lead, I don't think they would have prevented themselves from arresting the person.
The opposition, Nalin, says the Prime Minister should have said more in Parliament today. Will we see more detailed references to Manipur in the days ahead?
Three things, Vishnu. The first part is that each one of us as humans have to condemn this incident outrightly in the strongest possible words, and we all collectively expect and stand for justice in a manner that the perpetrators of this crime are punished in the fiercest manner possible under law, and others are equally warned that such a thing cannot be tolerated in society. The kind of assault and then the kind of manner in which it was done. That's the first part. We are collectively all on it. It doesn't matter whether which political party, whether it's us, it's other political parties. But additionally, when the Prime Minister spoke about it, and when the government showed its willingness to have a discussion, it is equally incumbent that the Congress party and the other opposition parties would have to explain why is it they prevented the discussion on technical aspects of which rule, which provision of the parliamentary procedure should be invoked. The interest should have been on the discussion and having a discussion on the floor of House of Parliament, not about the technicalities of it. So it raises questions about the opposition's motive and its objective. Is it really about justice? Is it really about wanting justice? Or it's about trying to create a political narrative to suit themselves? And on that, it's important to highlight that the Congress party and then, whether it's parties like the Trinamool Congress, would have to answer for crimes against women in the states that they rule. For us, every crime is a crime, whether it's Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, or Manipur, or anywhere else. It cannot be that a crime in Manipur is a matter of concern for whether the Congress party or the Trinamool Congress, but a crime or like the rape of a Dalit child in Rajasthan, Jodhpur, is one to prefer silence on by the Congress party and the other parties, or in Bengal. So I think that narrative of trying to build a narrative on an incident for political reasons has to be condemned.
No, but as I understand it, the arrest did take place in Rajasthan in a very finite period of time.
Eventually. But the other question is there a statement by Ms. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Mallikarjun Kharge, by Mamata Banerjee? They're all senior political people. Why the silence on the issues when it involves a crime against a child or a woman in states ruled by you? Are they not outraged? Are they not perturbed? And why should there not be a statement? Should we not care for the victim, irrespective if the victim is from which part of the country? or from which community, religion, whatever. A victim's a victim. It's a human being and then an Indian citizen. And that's what our whole concern should be about. And that's the point I'm flagging.
Now, Nalin, the Supreme Court has said that it's deeply disturbed by the visuals which have appeared depicting the perpetration of sexual assault and violence, and they want answers from the state government. Is this perhaps a reflection on how this situation hasn't perhaps been adequately tackled?
There are two parts to it. The first is the Honorable Supreme Court, or the bench of the Honorable Chief Justice of India, like any one of us, as citizens, are going to be perturbed, upset. It's a horrific act. The Prime Minister has spoken on it. The Home Minister spoke to the Chief Minister. Smriti Irani, as a minister, has gone out and commented. Everyone across the political spectrum in society, all of us are one in terms of what it is. It's beyond, it's impossible for any civilized person, anyone with any kind of feeling, to even say that they can look the other way after seeing those visuals. So how can we not expect anyone to speak on it? But the second part of it is that, do we raise a question to say, in a complex state where the situation is complex, where, let's not forget, Mr. Amit Shah, as the Home Minister, spent 3 or 4 days. It's never happened that the Union Home Minister is in a place personally there to ensure that we are working in the right direction, to take the steps. But sometimes situations are complex not because of inadequacies of the administration, but they may be complex due to other factors. But is the question to be asked is, are efforts being made to bring it back to normalcy? Are efforts being made to take corrective steps? Yes, the answer to both of it is there clearly.
But the demand which the opposition makes is that as a starting point, the Chief Minister must be replaced. Would you concede that that could be a part of the solution?
Well, the same demand would hold true then to, say, Mr. Ashok Gehlot, for the horrific rape of the Dalit child in Jodhpur. As also to the fact that Rajasthan has seen crime after crime in different parts of the state against women. This is not the only incident. So perhaps they can start by practicing what they wish to preach.
But what about Manipur itself, since we are talking about Manipur, and I do take your point about double standards. Is this something, the replacement of the Chief Minister, that is or should be on the cards in Manipur?
Well, Vishnu, I do recall a few weeks ago that he, as the Chief Minister, had made an effort to resign. That had come out in the media also. But we also saw that what was the reaction to it there. I think the primacy there is not about political points. It is about a solution to bring back peace as there was in Manipur. Manipur has, in the last significant period of time, when we've had the government at the center of Prime Minister Modi or the BJP government of the state, seen a situation of peace, which was a welcome change to the past, which was a period of bunds, of blockages, of highway blockages. You remember that petrol was sold at 2,000 rupees a litre, 800 to 2,000 rupees a litre, gas cylinder not reaching 3 to 4,000. Those days are days of the past. So it pains each one of us when the situation there is still not returned to normalcy. But I think everyone who should be working at this point of time, the support coming from the center and within the state government, are trying to do their best to see that it returns to normalcy.
Nalin, the drug trade in Manipur is a part of, is that drug trade a part of the violence? Is a part of the violence a pushback to that being furthered by illegal immigrants from Myanmar?
Vishnu, you've covered security issues and you have more than what I would call is the normal exposure to these kind of subjects. So you do understand the complexities there. The war against drugs is not just restricted to Manipur. If you follow carefully what's happening in the Northeast, if you see regularly in Assam, where Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sarma's government is cracking down on drugs repeatedly on a daily basis. So it is to break the backbone of the drug trade which comes from across the border through the various states, and Manipur is an important transit point in that sense, which has been identified. So you can't rule out these factors. In fact, one would have to, looking at the situation, some security experts tend to feel that it's not just an inter-Manipur issue, but there are ramifications that go beyond. That's what makes the situation complex. But irrespective of that, it is the collective responsibility of our people in Manipur, the government there, and the security forces, and whatever the center can do in its bit to ensure that we bring it back to the situation where it was.
Now, the use of massive mobs in repelling the police, that's what's happening in Manipur. Ultimately, there's only so much that the police can do. I mean, you don't want to fire on mobs like that. And that's a fact on the ground. Is there any way around this? Because time and time again, we see this as a problem, both communities.
So this was also something we have seen different strategies adopted by different places. If you go back to the days of Jammu and Kashmir, stone pelting was one such strategy. Yeah. Putting women and children on the forefront was another strategy, while security forces used to reach to try and apprehend a terrorist, arrest it or eliminate a terrorist, and that gave the opportunity to the terrorists to escape. And we have seen, which has been reported in the media, some instances of women and children and other people coming in a mob and preventing the security forces to do their task. So that would also, the other side of the story becomes relevant. Is the challenge under which the security apparatus comes when they are dealing in a situation that is already burning, and when they are faced with citizens, because after all, this is your child, this is us, these are Indian citizens. And the security forces can't take a step that in a sense is going to now act against an Indian citizen and cause them any casualty. So therefore, it's a very complex situation. So that is where the civil society part also comes in. That's where their political parties also come in to see that how can you bring a situation where the perpetrators are excluded from the society and collectively everyone works to identify the perpetrators, whether it's of mob violence, whether it's of murder or heinous crimes like this, and they are brought to the book.
A final question, Dalit. What happened to the peace committees that the centre and the state had planned and announced? Why has there been no progress, in bringing peace through these peace committees?
Peace committees are part of several things that need to be done. They are not the only solution in that sense. And I think every small element that gets together, that is a step in the right direction. To bring back normalcy is a welcome step. So these are not alternatives to each other, but these are, in a sense, supplementary steps to each other, complementing the overall objective, which is a single objective of ensuring that peace returns.
All right, Nalin, thank you very much for joining us with this. This is obviously a ground situation which is critical, but it's also a huge political issue. Gaurav Gogoi, Deputy Leader of the Congress Party in the Lok Sabha, joins us now. Gaurav, thank you for joining us. There's a horrific saga of revenge, of retaliation that seems to be defining what is happening in Manipur presently. As a leader from the Northeast, what do you believe are some of the key solutions which we need to look at?
Well, you know, Vishnu, what has happened in the Northeast and especially in the Manipur is just completely shocking. It's one of the most bloodiest conflicts in the history of the Northeast, not even in Manipur. The fractions, the divide, the wedge that has been created between the two communities, it will take years for this wound to be healed. And what has happened yesterday, you know, through social media, it just shows how the law and order machinery, the state government have just collapsed, and the kind of statements that are still coming out from the chief minister, from the prime minister, it just simply does not inspire confidence. And I think it is time for the political leadership to step up and take ownership. The chief minister of the state has been a key protagonist in why this conflict has not died down, why this conflict has not subsided, why there is still no talks of actual peace. The peace committee set up by the union government have failed. And allowing the chief minister to continue is a decision of the prime minister. I simply do not understand that even today the prime minister, knowing that the chief minister came to know about the ghastly incident of two women being gang raped only through social media when he is the home minister and the state police report to him. But the chief minister himself has stated that he only got to know through social media. Just shows how hands-off, how laissez-faire they are with the entire conflict in Manipur. And the Prime Minister's statement today, 78 days too late, still did not appeal for peace, still did not reflect on why his state government have failed. Just restricted to one particular incident, where there are hundreds of these incidents has been claimed by the state government, where women of both communities have been targeted. But he just reduced it to one incident and tried to compare with other states. What is happening in Manipur is unprecedented. It cannot be compared with what is happening in other states. Manipur is Manipur, and for that is the reason, why people in Manipur feel alienated and isolated, because the Prime Minister has found the time to go to America, has found the time to go to France, but simply has not still found the time to go to Manipur or even appeal for peace. What stopped him from speaking inside Parliament today? It just shows that, there's been, we're losing a lot of goodwill with respect to the people of Manipur, goodwill that existed between the different communities, and goodwill that the people of Manipur had for the rest of India and for the union government.
No, but one key question, and the opposition and your party has been pushing this throughout: replacement of the chief minister, replacement of the chief minister. But is that alone the solution to the present situation?
Well, if the chief, it is a very important part of the solution, because the chief minister himself has been a key protagonist in this conflict. This conflict has not come up all over a sudden. It has not come up all overnight. There has been a deliberate path that the chief minister has been following, which led to ordinary civilians, ordinary civilians storming the police treasury, taking up arms and fighting on each other. This is not the typical history of Northeast. In the history of Northeast, it has been insurgent groups which have taken up arms. But the chief minister has created such a volatile atmosphere of distrust and hate that ordinary people have taken up arms. And even after 78 days, they are no longer on talking terms. They are living in isolation. People of the valley are living in the valley. People of the hills are living in the hills. There's been a complete breakdown in the social fabric of Manipur, and the politics that has been played, indulged by the chief minister, has a key role. And again, dismissing the chief minister is a decision that the prime minister has to take, and he is still chosen to continue with this chief minister, knowing that his government has totally failed in protecting the lives of people of Manipur, which is the number one duty of any state government, is law and order and secure the lives of your citizens, in which case this government has totally failed. So Prime Minister's statement today is late, 78 days. It's incomplete because he didn't ask for peace, and it's still in denial because he's still giving the Biren Singh government a clean sheet.
What about external factors, the presence of illegal migrants in furthering the violence? Do you believe that this is a real factor?
The reason for the reasons for this current conflict are complex and myriad. It requires the cooperation of all ministries. One of the reasons that we've been told is about people coming in from Myanmar. Well, I believe the Union Government of India has a friendly relationship with the Union Government of Myanmar. If there's a problem of influx, whether of immigrants or of insurgents or of criminals, what has the foreign minister been doing? What has Jaishankar been doing? What has the NSA Ajit Doval been doing? You're allowing this influx of people or criminals to just come in unabated. In the past, the Union Government of India has worked with its counterparts in Myanmar and Bhutan and Bangladesh to smash hubs of crime and smash hubs of insurgency in our neighboring countries. What has prevented this government from doing so? So whether it's the Home Department, whether it's a National Security Advisor, whether it's the Foreign Ministry, there has been a complete failure. And that's why, while I say removing the Chief Minister is one aspect of bringing about a change in the situation, the Union Government of India has to introspect. The Prime Minister has to put all his hands and his mind and apply his mind to Manipur. Otherwise, the situation will go from bad to worse.
The use of massive mobs in repelling the police, how does any police force actually deal with this? Shoot at sight would trigger a bloodbath. I ask this because this is the situation that one is seeing in Manipur. So in as much as you criticize the handling of the situation, this is a very real threat. How does any police force deal with this?
Well, the disaffection that has come up between the people of Manipur and the state is because that the state has failed to protect them. People of Manipur have lost faith, whether it's in the armed forces, in the police representatives, because they have failed to protect their lives, to protect their homes from being burned. They have failed to protect the churches from being burned. They have failed to protect their sisters from being gang raped. They have failed to protect their brothers. So I don't blame the people for having this sense of disaffection. It is for the political leadership to have taken, to show through acts of ownership, by as I said, by understanding that their machinery has failed, their state machinery has failed, their state government has failed, their police leadership has failed, and only political leadership through political outreach can go and soothe the emotions of these people. And that is what Rahul Gandhi tried to do when he went to visit. But Rahul Gandhi is an opposition leader. We needed the Prime Minister to go and be there on the ground, camp there for a week if needed be, to ensure that through his outreach, through a personal touch, that people calm down and we surrender the arms. There's still arms in the hands of people. The people are living in ghettos right now. There's one community is living in one part of Manipur, another which is the hills, and other communities living in the valley, and there's just complete breakdown. It is heartbreaking because this conflict, this tension between the two communities is not new, it's old, but for the last 20 years we have not seen this level of conflict. The last conflict that I remember in Manipur which was of this scale was in 1998, and since then we are here in 2023. It's going on, it's unabated, and it's shocking to see the level of apathy both at the state and at the center by the Chief Minister and by the Prime Minister.
No, it is an absolute crisis. Hopefully, there is a new strategy perhaps which addresses all of these concerns. Gaurav Gogoi, thank you very much for speaking to us. Well, joining us now, Patricia Mukim, editor of the Shillong Times, Chitra Ahanthem, she's an independent journalist, Amod Kant, the former Director General of Police of Arunachal Pradesh, she's had extensive experience in this area, and Saira Shah Halim, a writer and women's rights activist. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. Just a friendly reminder to our panelists, let's not get into community bashing on this program. We are very closely watched and we don't want any of this to trigger any violence on the ground. Patricia, let me come to you first. And you've referred to this in a recent piece of yours, the use of mobs on the ground, human shields. It's a very real issue because whatever the police does, people are taken away, violence continues, and somehow security agencies cannot get beyond this. So my question is this, how do they?
This is where one says that the law and order has failed miserably. Because if there is law and order, then these Mera Paibis would not have been able to take the law into their own hands. So, it reminds me, I've been listening to two politicians speaking and there's a lot of whataboutery. We have to remind ourselves that Manipur was under president's rule 10 times, the highest ever for any state. And for not such, you didn't have a bloodshed of this scale, nor did you have displacement at such a large scale. Today you have all this, and you have a chief minister who is overtly partisan, but you can't remove him, and you can't bring in central rule, which is the need of the hour, because a chief minister who's lost the confidence of his people, he may have won the confidence of a particular community, but the others don't trust him. And to think about normalcy and to think about peace at this point of time is futile because, they've created a peace committee. You don't engineer a peace committee. A peace committee is something organic that has to come from a civil society initiative. Mm-hmm. And considering that Manipur has a string of NGOs, the highest number of NGOs, you wonder where those NGOs have disappeared at this critical moment, because it is only people who can speak to one another. At this time, what you need are societal conversations, which have broken down completely. They were there in the past. How did they break down? We need to get to the root of it. And of course, that video has numbed all of us, especially women, and a lot of men as well.
It's just shocking beyond words. There have been 4 arrests. The question that needs to be asked, and we've all been raising it, is that why did it need this video to be leaked for these arrests to actually have taken place? But by the grace of God, arrests have now happened. And, as long as there is some justice, that's all that one can hope for in a
But you know what? Because one is a journalist and one is also actively involved in this whole issue, there are so many videos that land up on one's phone. Of course, one has to do a fact check. This is not the only video with that level of atrocity. There have been many in the past. There is a story of a woman who was almost killed and she pretended to be dead and she was left there. Then she somehow found a simple auto rickshaw driver to take her to a safer place. So these things have been going on. It's just that there's no, news has not been able to filter out from there.
Just
especially
let me
from
just,
the hills.
Patricia, hang on. Let me go across to Chitra. I think Patricia makes an important point that there are many videos out there, despite the fact that Twitter has been blocked. It just seems to me that there is this tit for tat happening, between leaders or whatever it is of different communities in pushing out these videos, and in doing that, the situation is getting further inflamed. Is that your sense as well?
The difficult part, Vishnu, is that, you are caught in a situation where you just don't know what's happening, because one atrocity after another lands before you. It comes in the form of updates, it comes in the form of calls where you can hear gunfire in the background, it comes in the form of videos, which has been kind of surreptitiously passed on to somebody who has come out of Imphal, who has taken a flight to another place, and from there on the other person is sending it to me or other people, and then it's being further shared. So we, like me sitting in Delhi, I feel like a deer caught in the headlights, because you are trying to settle, okay, this is what happened. This is what happened, and then bam, comes another thing right at you. I was hearing Patricia speak earlier about how Mera Baibis are enabling the violence, or how they are coming in your opening points about how they are coming as human shields. Let me put in a caveat here. The Mera Baibis are not one registered institution. They are bodies that are there in every locality. There is no registered system. There is no leadership. There is no note that is being passed on from one body to another saying that this is what you have to follow. This is the standard.
It's spontaneous is what you're saying, Chitra.
Yeah, I'm saying that there are Mera Baibis in every locality. It's like one mohalla has got one Mera Baibi unit, another mohalla has got another Mera Baibi unit, and so on in the Meitei areas. Now, you talk about saying that Biren has got the confidence of one particular community. Not so. It is constitutional. He has got the mandate he's got the majority of amongst the 60 MLAs. There has to be calls from the MLAs, number one. As far as him getting support of the Meiteis is concerned, there are news that has been coming in for the past 4 to 5 days back, saying that there are rallies being taken out every night by women saying that Biren needs to go. And these are led by Meitei women. So this is not about Meitei women saving Biren. And because of this, because of all this protest happening against Biren, in fact, curfew has been reimposed again. The hours of non-curfew were getting longer, but now it's getting extended because just so that women cannot converge. So women are still protesting. There are videos where a woman has got her teeth broken and she's speaking about how the RAF personnel stomped on her feet with the boots on the floor, and her neck is in pain. She has got 3 of her teeth missing. This was happening just 2 days back, and these were women who were protesting against Biren. So I would request that let's not jump into conclusions and say that this Mera Baibis or this community backing. What is happening is beyond communities. What is happening is beyond any ethnic group. What has happened in Manipur should not have happened. But the unfortunate thing, I was hearing...
It's incredibly tragic, yes. Chitra.
Yes, and I was hearing the comments from the 2 gentlemen earlier, and saying that trying to, when we are talking about rape, it is a crime, yes. And then there is the matter of the agency of the women. But when it takes part in escalating violence between 2 communities, and violence that has been escalating for 2.5 months, this particular incident happened within 24 hours of the violence that started in Churachandpur and More. I'm telling you, there would be more cases. There would be actual cases that are yet to come on the ground.
There are. There's very little doubt about that.
Yes,
this is just something we are talking about now, and rightly so.
Yes.
but
it
there are
could have
countless other
happened.
cases. Chitra, half a
Right,
second.
and it could,
Let
yes,
me
and
just
it could happen to both communities.
Chitra, hang on. Let me just keep the strike rotating over here. Bring in as many views as possible. Amod Kant, how would you, from a law and order standpoint, deal with this situation? It's fairly unprecedented.
No, I have heard enough of political discourse so far. I think the situation has gone far beyond it, and there is no scope for that. I think the situation is so extraordinary in Manipur, not only because this video is becoming viral, but the circumstances under which it happened. Whatever little I know about it, that these 5 persons, including 2 boys and 3 women, they tried to get into some forest, and from the forest they came out. They were being escorted by the police, and a mob of about 800 to 1,000 people came, and they abducted these people, and then this dastardly crime took place. So that was the situation, and that happened on the 4th of May, I believe. And that was the time there was a big 60,000 people had assembled for a particular program. And it all started off there. Now, from that time to now, the situation has degenerated so badly that there is a need to go above the political bickerings, which is happening. I can see it here also. And of course, it happens that a large number of people, even the police officials and the politicians and other leaders, they left the place and they have left Manipur to its own kind of situation. So I think probably there is a need to do something very, very drastic. Perhaps President's rule in Manipur is called for. I mean, that is my understanding, because considering the degeneration of situation and the kind of law and order situation has come up there, which is beyond control. I mean, the Honorable Home Minister of India, he went there, he came there. Other people, they have tried their best. There is complete lack of faith in the leadership, lack of faith in the police. The police is not able to work. I think 10,000 police force, that is paramilitary and army and the police, were deployed right in the beginning, and there was no effect. And all these things are happening. Now you have got thousands and thousands of arms and ammunitions lying in the hands of people who are trigger happy, and they are not insurgents. They are different kind of people. So from the police point of view, law and order point of view, it appears to me that the discourse going on about Manipur is something which is highly inappropriate. Something very different has to be done. And that different can be done only if...
No, and thank you, Amod Khan, for raising that point, because when one sees political leaders bickering about a situation like this, it just seems to be from another planet compared to what the situation on the ground actually is. Saira Shah Halim, before I come to you, I actually wanted to read out a graphic, and I thought I'd get you to sort of react to it. I want to talk a little bit about conflict-related sexual violence. The UN has come out with a new report, and it's not just in the context of this one particular video, but it is several such incidents which have been reported to be taking place in Manipur. A couple of key quotes from this report, and the reason I bring it up is because what we are seeing in Manipur is equivalent to some of the worst of what we are seeing in several other parts of the world where there are actual wars or civil wars. One of the key quotes in this report: in most contexts, impunity remain the norm, while emerging threats in the largely ungoverned digital space, we see that over here, and the combination of climate insecurity, state fragility, and structural gender inequality further expose women and girls to conflict-related sexual violence. All of that has happened here. Another quote: sexual violence continued to be used as a tactic of war, torture, and terrorism amidst deepening political and security crises, compounded by militarization and the illicit proliferation of arms. It's happening in the worst places around the world. It's happening in Manipur as well. And a final quote: in several settings, conflict-related sexual violence was perpetrated as a form of retaliation against individuals and communities for their perceived or actual affiliation with rival armed groups. That is exactly what has happened in this case as well. So, Saira, just a summary of what we are seeing on the ground. Your thoughts on the weaponization of women and girls in the state?
Absolutely. Good evening. Firstly, I'd like to say that you're absolutely right as far as these quotations are concerned. Using women as instruments for perpetuating violence has been used since times immemorial. And I think it is very, very heartless and at the same time very, very hard to digest that this is happening in today's era, in contemporary times. And here we need to take cognizance of the fact that 130 people have died since the conflict began and several other thousands have been displaced. And now I think the government of the day needs to take cognizance of the fact that Manipur is burning, and I hope heads will roll this time, because I don't understand why it takes an outrage over media or outrage for, of women for the government to take cognizance of what is happening. I think it's a little too late in the day for them to even acknowledge that a crisis has been brewing for far too long. And women, as you rightly pointed out, have been used as instruments of violence since a very, very long time. And I think this video should shock and shame not only women, but every human being across the world, because I think this is absolutely unacceptable in a healthy, thriving, progressive democracy. Because here we need to understand that the experience of what is happening in Manipur needs to be taken account. And I think now is the time for the government of the day to take onus of what is happening, because here women have been sexually assaulted, they've been paraded naked, there have been allegations of outraging the modesty, there have been allegations of sexual misconduct.
I mean, that's what we're looking at, of gang rape.
Yes. So here we are not getting into blaming any community, because we know that this is, it is going on this between the two tribal communities, whether it's the Kuki or whether it's the Veti. Now we are not going to talk about who is responsible, who is not responsible. The fact is that these two communities have an internal strife for a very long time. Now the situation has gone out of hand, and this needs to be, the tension needs to be quelled with priority. And I hope whatever measures have to be taken, whether it's constitutional, whether using the military or whatever instrument you're using, this unrest has to be quelled at
India cannot afford to have a situation like this at all.
Absolutely, because I think this is receiving a lot of international outrage as well. It is receiving outrage in India, and very soon,
it really doesn't matter whether it is receiving outrage in India or abroad. I think the point is that there are lives that have to be saved. There are communities that need to live together. Look, I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. I'm going to keep discussing this in the days ahead. But thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Again, the goal over here, looking for solutions, understanding the nature of the problem. It is a real crisis for us in India. We'll take a short break, come back with more. Well, we'll continue with our focus on Manipur. It's just a shocking story just to think about what has been happening over there for the last couple of months. Massive outrage in Manipur and indeed across India after the video of two women being paraded naked emerged yesterday evening. 4 people have now been arrested. That's brought home the horrors of the Manipur conflict. While the video was from the 4th of May, it's only emerged now, finally leading to some action being taken.
A massive protest in Manipur's tribal-dominated Churachandpur district, a day after a viral video captured the horror of the state's ethnic clashes that began in May in graphic detail. The video, shot on May 4, the day that saw the worst violence across many parts of Manipur, shows 2 tribal women stripped, paraded and sexually assaulted by a mob of men. At least one of the women was also gang raped by the same mob later, the police FIR in the case says. After immense anger and outrage across the country, the Manipur police said they had arrested this 32-year-old man who is seen in the video groping and assaulting one of the women. By late evening, the Manipur police said they had arrested 3 others, taking the total number of those arrested to 4.
At this point, really, the focus of the protest rally is also the shocking visuals that have emanated from Manipur, where you have seen, a woman was sexually assaulted and paraded naked, and that perhaps has led to a lot of outrage. leading people to come out on the streets of Churachandpur.
I implore the entire nation and to the world to condemn this atrocity.
Indeed, it was blood curdling. It is beyond words to describe what it was. You cannot expect a human to be treated like that. Okay, this is shredding a woman of all her modesty.
According to the FIR copy accessed by NDTV, the women in the video were part of a larger group of villagers who had fled to a forest to escape the unfolding violence on May 4. The FIR says the group found a police party who assured them of safety, but just moments later, a mob of about 800 to 1,000 men confronted the cops and took away the women and others from the custody of the police just 2 kilometers from the nearest police station. It is not clear what the police did to retaliate or if they did anything at all. The FIR in the case says a 19-year-old man, the brother of one of the women seen in the video, was murdered by the mob when he tried to save her. The FIR says one of the 2 women seen in the video was also gang raped. The incident has been condemned by civil society groups across ethnic divides.
The video seems to be an action which was committed some 70-75 days ago. And how did it come up suddenly is also a big question, and we are also trying to find out. We also came across many reports, many videos, many photos of many innocent people being tortured brutally, manhandled, killed.
A viral video from Manipur has shown how women have been subjected to violence during the ethnic conflict in the state.
The video also raises many questions on law and order in Manipur that the state government needs to answer soonest. With Saurabh Gupta, GD Shankar and BM Sanzu in Imphal and Ratnadeep Chaudhary in Guwahati, Bureau Report, NDTV.
We'll keep tracking the situation in Manipur very, very closely indeed. It is an awful situation. It does need a solution. Time now for this short break.